Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigor Mortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. We're doing Cold Testament. So, Cold Testament is a Christmas horror story, Christmas horror story written by ShawnCognition of In Torment and Tabula Rasa. Mm-hmm. We've had his stories on the show before. You can check it out on Creepypasta.wikia, along with his other works, and we'll kind of just dive into this one. So, Cold Testament starts off in the winter of 1946, specifically, I think, Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth, this girl who's had a very hard life, been destitute, is on the run for the cops. Hides down in an alleyway and has some flashbacks of what had just happened as she tries to conceal a bloody knife. Mm-hmm. So apparently there was some violence very recently with friends that are no longer friends. Mm-hmm. And she's sitting there, like, freaking out, worrying, like, figuring out how she's going to escape this town that she's in. She's in, like, Indiana or Idaho? A town of like 7,000 people in Idaho, I believe.
I think it says...
It does say, I can't remember, because it was one of the states that start with an I. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's a small town in America.
I will continue to say
it literally does not matter. So it's, she's trapped in this small town where this has happened, and she's trying to figure out how to escape. And then time stops. And an angel appears before her. It's got great big wings, a bird's skull for a head, and it lays down like, okay, you've had a really hard life. Let me just jot this down as you tell me your story. All right, we're here. We're going to give you a second chance, and changes her like appearance, and gives her this tome. I believe it's called the Nekelem or the Nekelmu. The Nekelmu. It's just like big, thick tome, almost like a third the size of her, with like bound in chains and like leather, and it has like a symbol of the Ouroboros snake around a crude symbol of a brain. Mm-hmm. And basically, the angel is just like, here you go. You have a new identity. Let's see what path you go now. Mm-hmm. Like, kind of like here's your redemption arc. Mm-hmm. So then the angel leaves, and the time reverts back to normal, mm-hmm. and she's a different person physically. Mm-hmm. So she goes out and like checks around. There's this hobo. Cowering, or like not cowering, but like in a fetal position trying to sleep in the cold. Mm-hmm. And the book, she opens the book and it gives off a symbol of light that apparently she can only see, and it leads her across the road, or across the street to this house where like a family's like a much better off family is basically just enjoying Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. And so she goes across there, and this light trail, this symbol, leads her around the house to the door, and she's like, "What? The angel's trying to lead me to like break in and do stuff, like leading me down." Okay, and she just kind of leans into it. Like mm-hmm. At that point, she just leans back into her old ways of violence and corruption. Mm-hmm. As she opens, but also because the light opens the door for her.
Yeah,
and she goes in, and the dad's like a bulky, like a hefty dude, like a strong dude, not like a tubby guy. And the woman's really well off, like with like a nice red dress and stuff. And then they have like a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And she's in the kitchen, and she's looking at the knives and looking at she looking at food? Also, sorry, audience, if you're hearing me just sniffling because I'm a little congested.
Well, she goes to the knife first because of the need for some form of
Protection.
Protection.
Yeah. But then when she goes to grab it, it like hurts, and then it starts levitating like telekinesis.
Yeah.
As the symbol on the book starts rotating around, and she stifles a gasp, but it's not enough. And the father like comes out and is like, "What's that?" And then within a flash, the knife just zooms into the next room and kills the dad by embedding it right through his eye. At that point, she just goes full on murder hobo, or murder Carrie.
But first she grabs some turkey from the fridge.
Yes, and then she just leans on the door. It's like, well, that's a shame what happened there. like a fucking villain, like a fucking comic book villain. Like Jesus. And the woman's like cowering, holding her kid. And she basically just decides to go into like her old ways and just like, all right, get me all your stuff or I'm going to kill your kid. And she's like, I was like, all right, I'll do it. She goes running up the stairs, goes grab her stuff. And she comes back down with like a handful of things, like jewelry and stuff like that. And it's like, here, take this, is all we have. And it's not enough because... it's not. I guess it's not enough for for Elizabeth because she like reads another like page from the book, and something takes control of her, like some power, and she basically goes full blown like Akira style psychic, and like takes both like Jedi or Sith lords, both of them up in the air, the son and the wife and the mother, strips the mother down to she's naked. And then turns her upside down, and just splats her onto the ceiling.
Yep.
And all the gore and stuff that stays up on the ceiling doesn't drop yet immediately. And she like throws the kid psychically to the front door, and gets some like piano wire telekinetically, and sets it to decapitate the child.
Well. It's originally set at his midsection.
Yeah, it's set at his midsection.
And then she gains control
She gains control again, and the gore all drops down on them. I remember the gore dropped down on them as well as the kid.
Okay.
But she has control, so she sets it to so it's gonna be a quick death.
Yeah.
How merciful of her. And basically just like Goss just shoots it like right at the neck so that it decapitates him instantly. And he falls to the ground. And then the place is just on fire, like magically. And the angel comes out of a burning hell portal, and tells her that she had the chance of redemption, but she took her old ways again. So he basically has, and now she's become another soul for the Nekelmu, which is that tome.
Yeah.
And just drags her down to hell, I guess. But not before she makes a one final wish to the Nekelmu. And then we cut to the hobo outside who saw this fire start in this house and booked it. But then suddenly he's got a nice coat on. He's got jewelry that the girl took, and his shopping cart that he was using is lined with canned goods, and so it's just a happy day for him. At least something happy happened this Christmas.
Yeah, but the problem is that she pinned the fire on him because he has the jewelry.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, basically that's what's fucked. Yeah, the coppers in this town are going to immediately think it's this homeless guy. Wow. What a bitch. God. So that was Cold Testament in our hack and slash way of running down the story sometimes. Go check it out on Creepypasta.wikia if you want. We'll go into the grammar inquisitions right now, since that's what everybody expects of us at this point. So, going to start off with a quote as we used to do, or as we like to do. The snow began to glow bright red, causing her to squint her eyes. I think right could either be removed or it's supposed to mean bright red.
Yeah.
Although, does bright red light cause is it red's one of those colors that you use to so you can stay accustomed to the darkness and stuff like that. So
think of it this way: bright light, closing your eyes, you see red.
Yeah.
So it's bright red.
Oh, okay. So you should close your eyes and then it's all red.
Yeah.
Unless it's just also bright red because we have demons and angels and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we do get the name of the angel.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out Samael. So I have some words about that. And so we go. So moving on to my next quote. The familiar blow was covering the front door and windows, which she assumed meant no sound from inside could be heard by the rest of the town, nor could they escape. What? Blow? Does it mean wind blow? Like concealing the sound and some of that? Or blood? I don't know. I don't know what this is trying to say.
Yeah.
The familiar blood was covering the front door and windows? No. Or the familiar wind blowing was covering the front door and windows? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I had that too, but essentially that there was something covering the door and windows to mute sound.
What would that be? The familiar blow? That makes no sense. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's more than likely.
I think that sentence needs to be really just reevaluated.
Yes, it does.
Just need some clarification as to how it's okay that it's okay, there's something on covering the doors and windows for her to basically do her dirty work or her wet work, but what is it? Is it something coming from the Nekelmu, or is it something that is just there mundanely so that it's able to cover up her issues? Is this a situational thing?
Unless it's meant to be glow.
Oh, the familiar glow was covering the front door and windows.
Because it's the glow that
of the fire,
the door.
Which
was silent.
The glow from the thing that the light that came down. Yeah, okay. So she knew. So it's something magically augmenting the windows and doorways so that she could do her work.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that needs to, that's the grammar issue right there. So it needs to be glow, not blow. All right, moving right along. She sprinted up the stairs. She grabbed the book with her left hand out of her hair, or out of the hair, and pulled it toward herself. Flipping it one page further to page 4, she began to read to herself amid the woman's loud shuffling of items upstairs. We need some clarification as to who grabbed the book, because the first she is the mother. Yep. The second she is obviously supposed to be Elizabeth, but it's not. It's too vague, and right after one after the other. So that when I first read that, initially, before I even got to the rest of it, I was like, she sprinted upstairs, but not before she stole the book from the air from Elizabeth. I was like, oh, is she grabbing the book and doing something is she doing something tricky? But no, that's not it. It's just so that needs to be fixed. Also, it's supposed to be air, not hair, because she doesn't grab the book out of the hair.
Unless there's some way.
Unless she has Medusa hair, and that's actually what's been holding the book up in the air.
Yeah,
I could buy that, I guess. And that is my grammar inquisitions. So, Mikey, D stands for you.
All right, let's start this with a front butt. That begins at... It's near the beginning, and it's the beginning of its own paragraph.
Oh, God.
So, I'll just do the whole quote from the previous paragraph running into this. filthy clothes covering her, including a brown coat her mother had given her. God rest her soul. Everything she owned was either taken or given to her. But her thieving was not why she was wanted.
Yeah, it really could have just, like, her thieving, however, was not...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a common mistake. A common issue that people have with butts and stuff, butts and ands in the front of things.
Yep.
Because it does feel like it was supposed to be kind of it's still like continuing the thought process of the previous one, just like counteracting or countermanding it a little bit.
Alright, I believe this is... Okay. I found this sentence clunky.
Okay.
As she turned around with her new possession, she felt a strange coursing power run through her arms. So, I changed it to coursing... Well, I changed it to ran through her arms. It doesn't work. But then I had also another one, which is a rewrite that she felt a strange power coursing through her arms, as opposed to run through her arms.
Yeah.
Because you're already saying through, you don't...
Yeah.
You already know that, so it's... Yeah.
It's a little clunky.
Yeah. The next one is another start of a paragraph, and it's an it.
Okay.
At the start of a paragraph. So I will read the previous. Mm-hmm. Raising from the page and leaving a misty trail behind it, the light worked its way directly across the street from the alleyway. It was a beautiful house.
I mean, okay. It does say right in that little sentence what the it is. It literally says it was a beautiful house because it went across the street. So it ran across the light went across the street in the first paragraph, and then the next paragraph is revealing what the target was.
Yeah, but the light becomes a beautiful house is what it reads as.
Okay. Fair, I guess. Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. I guess you could say that the light ended at a beautiful house.
Yeah. This one just gave me the wrong sort of visual based on what comes after it. So this is when she's ripping the clothes off of the wife. Her dress was peeled off in a single moment, along with everything else covering her, and thrown into the fire, which consumed them. Her cold flesh was revealed along with her bust. And I'm like,
why?
Well, we already know she's naked.
Yeah.
Why do we need that descriptor?
Because we need to know that she's busty. God. I have words about that whole area, that whole section, in my actual thoughts.
Well, when I initially read it, I got the visual that she was thrown into the fire as well.
Oh, God.
And then later I was confused.
Oh, she's still alive.
She's alive, and where's the fire?
Exactly.
And then I was like, okay. And
yeah.
It's just not what it's supposed to mean. Believe that is it for my grammar inquisitions.
Okay. So, on to my actual thoughts, and boy, do I have some thoughts. So, starting with a thing at the very beginning of the story. So she's on the run, and there's the lights of flashing red and blue lights. And then it says this immediately after that: the Second Great War had only ended a year early. It was 1946. Whoa. Okay, for some reason I thought this was the here and now, modern, maybe even the 80s. Also, it states, like I said, it stated prior that it was red and blue lights flashing, in a moment past the alleyway. Cop cars, right?
Yeah.
Cop cars didn't have red and blue flashing lights in the 40s or even the 50s. They had a single beacon light, which was white, that just looked forward. So, like, the head of the car. So, a bit of a historical plot hole.
Ah, yes.
And then we get to the next inconsistency I have with regards to the homeless man. The only person she could see was a single homeless man shoving a near empty shopping cart. Now, I could be off the mark, but that feels more like a 80s piece of imagery, a piece of imagery from the 80s or 90s for the vagrant, rather than the 40s. I did Wikipedia when carts were first introduced and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They were introduced around the 40s, but would homeless people have been using them at that early stage? Usually, when I think about I could just be off in preconceived to the notion of homeless people in the 40s and 30s and 20s being basically they have the rucksack on a stick and they board trains and stuff like that. That's my kind of homeless person iconography from the turn of the century and early and those first couple of decades. It seemed like some of the imagery in the story is a little too modern.
Well, he might have been ahead of his time.
Yeah. I'm gonna take these carts for this shopping mall. from this shopping center.
He's a hipster hobo.
He did it before it was cool. I hope he gets arrested at the end of the story. Yeah, so it's bad when I say that, or when I'm having an issue with when I'm having conflicting issues for the timeline versus descriptions in a story.
Yeah,
because I can usually let a lot of things go, but the anachronisms in this story were a little too much. Mm-hmm. And honestly, based on this author, I kind of expected a little bit more because he's done some decent period pieces in the past. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was alliteration up the ass there. That was alliteration up the ass there for a second. Jesus. Because the noir ones, it's very 1930s noir, mm-hmm. and then the 80s one is very 80s. So it's just weird when the anachronisms happen here. Mm-hmm. And then my next one is actually a good note. Mm-hmm. The book's red glowing design began to move in place. The Ouroboros began circling the brain on the leather. So I will say this for the story. I really enjoyed the cool imagery in regards to the book and its effects on Elizabeth and beyond, and even the angel. Not the effects on the angel, but I mean the angel itself. Mm-hmm. The book, or the Nekelmu, as we come to realize what it is the story's never-ending storybook meets mm-hmm. the lament configuration. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy the description of the book and what it does and some of that. Specifically, it's really well done, giving me this image of this new item, this new artifact that is kind of a combination of those two things that I mentioned, but making something new. It's basically gives psychic powers or gives supernatural powers to the person while also damning them. Mm-hmm. And then the angel is a very interesting creation or design. A little bit more sinister than you would expect of an angel, mm-hmm. Right off the hop. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit in a second. But first, I want to tackle something a little bit more. So, an issue that we've come across before with ShawnCognition, especially within regards to the In Torment series, mm-hmm. And it's kind of in the story as well. So, I'm going to start with a paragraph quote. The jewelry fell from her hand as she lifted into the air. Her son attempted to run from the room, but he also was lifted into the air, facing his mother. Her dress was peeled off in a single moment, along with everything else covering her, and thrown into the fire, which consumed them. Her cold flesh was revealed, along with her bust. Struggling to both lower herself and cover her naked body, she was turned upside down, feet in the air. Her legs pulled in opposite directions until they were practically opposite to each other, flat. Why? Other than shock value, like in terms of that like description and like that narration. Mm-hmm. And then it continued to this. It hurts, she yelled in panic, as she was pulled in two directions at once. Then, without any warning, she was slammed upwards into the ceiling. Her entire body became a liquid collection of gore, with the only solid sections being small collections of matter left from her organs. The blood did not fall, however. Instead, it stayed coating the ceiling. The once white, pure ceiling was now a red show of raw power. Well, at least it wasn't overtly graphic in another sense. Mm-hmm. And you can read that as, at least it wasn't skeevy like some other, like it sounded like it was going to go to. I really don't think, now that aside, I really don't think this display of hyperviolence was necessary. Mm-hmm. This could have been done more subtly, and still had the same impact on the kid, because the kid is traumatized completely by this event. But it could have been just as traumatizing to him had she died a little bit more finesse, not too much like gore fare. Mm-hmm. And the narrative would have been just as strong for it. Like, I feel like when the dad was pretty much just I feel like the dad had a pretty effective kill scene, and turned the story into a very dark side, and especially for Elizabeth, without having to go Akira levels of like splat, like gore splat. Like even the kid dies like in a pretty like gruesome but not overt way. I think that's really what it is. Like the overt violence in the story, in that description for the mother only, is a little like, what are you trying to do here other than just disgust your audience? And I mean, that is maybe what they're trying to do, and that is something that you can do in like to make things horror, is use like visceral horror and shock value. It's why shock horror exists. Yeah. But it really wasn't necessary.
I figured it out.
Okay.
So there's actually no mention of bones mixed in with the gore.
You're right, there isn't.
Therefore, she must have been an alien.
I'll do one better. She was secretly a Shoggoth Lord.
Yeah. So that's why the family...
She'd already eaten the mother, and was basically planning on eating the rest of them.
Yeah,
and making their own copy. The father and the son were actually still pure humans. The mother had been replaced.
The father might have already been replaced.
No, because if it would have been a Shoggoth Lord, a knife wouldn't have done it. Shoggoth Lords don't have their allocation of like vital organs and stuff like that. Is not. They're basically amorphous.
Okay.
On the inside, so like critical hit does not work.
Okay. So yeah. So that explains it. Mm-hmm. And then the whole... She could have saved the kid because the kid was still human, but because she didn't, that's why...
Maybe.
Yeah. Stuff happened.
Yeah. It's a shame the story did not coalesce that way, though.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, you're right. It's totally missing bones. Yeah. But yeah, like it's just like, I mean, I do appreciate good shock horror when it happens. I really do. But like, all I saw in this was like, Cognition. Why do you have to throw in a near skeevy scene in every one of your stories? I think the only one we've done where he hasn't done this has been Tabula Rasa.
Yeah.
And it seems to be mainly his In Torment series, and I get why he does it. Is because like it's trying to make these like characters really villainous. But there's better ways to do it. There's more tasteful ways to do it. As we've just described. And honestly, like, all I could think of when I read like the clothes peeled off of her, it's like, oh god, it's like that scene from the Bad Silent Hill movie where Pyramid Head just strips the girl of like all her clothes and then strips her of all her skin, like he did with the clothes. So I was expecting actually like the skin to get peeled off as well, but that didn't happen. I was just like, yeah, it's just okay. Then we get when the angel shows up after she's done all this dark, twisted work, and he like grabs her like by the face and like says some stuff to her. You fell to temptation of the Nekelmu, as thy black heart was beyond corrupt. Your redemption was cast away the moment you acted out of your own will, rather than the Father's will. Thou hast chosen thy own fate. One which will have you bound as one of the evil spirits within the Nekelmu, after you have had the proper punishment for your actions. You know what? This is a really dumb way to test someone's path to redemption.
Yep.
What did this family do to deserve being thrown into this mess, other than, the mother secretly being a Shoggoth lord?
Yeah.
Like, I get that, like, the story was, that perhaps, like, this is a more neutral or maybe even Old Testament sort of being. And then I have in quotes, because I wrote this after, or before we get the name of the angel. And in fact, it is a more devilish entity, as we discovered. But you couldn't have stopped her, like, just before she was going to just straight up murder people? Mm-hmm. Like, you could have stopped her as she accepted the breaking and entering option? Like, and follow through with that? Like, I just... we get these kind of, like, these kind of motifs in his stories a lot. And I understand, like, he likes to, like, deal with, like, the path of darkness versus, like, will the character go down the path of darkness or will they go down the path of light? But it seems like a lot of his stories just go down the path of darkness all the time.
Yep.
And, like, morality. Like, and I actually really liked earlier when she was reading the book, the quote of... So this is right after she starts reading, like, flipping through the books and reading, like, as the woman's, like, loud shuffling items. Mm-hmm. At the behest of their deaths, their black hearts will first pump red blood. When the void takes their consciousness, their twisted psyche will first dream of paradise. When they are met with the choice, they will originally suffer. The first sin isn't birthed in history, but with each birth, and with the first breath of sentience. That is when he must da-da-da-da-da. Like, every sentient being has a choice, like, from their first breath, mm-hmm. like what path to choose. Like, I really dig that that kind of that morality in terms of, like, a storytelling thing. But it's just like, this is a really dumb plan, Angel. Mm-hmm. To give this, I'm going to give this woman the lament configuration to give her Carrie style powers. Mm-hmm. And this woman who has clearly and I'm going to give her a completely fresh face mm-hmm. to start a new life, but give her that path of, like, give her that last cigarette. And if she smokes it, she's going to hell. Yep. And I mean, what did you expect was going to happen when you gave somebody who had that kind of life? Yeah. The temptation, like, of power. Like, of course she's going to fucking use it. Mm-hmm. I was actually kind of surprised that it went this way. I thought, like, honestly, it was going to turn out that she was, like, that was actually her family or something like that, or like, she had, like, suddenly, like, she was in that, like, the angel had rewritten it, that was now her family.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, no, it's just, it's a morality test. And you failed. You failed hard. And then we actually get to the reveal of who the angel is, and with this quote, "What kind of angel are you?" To which the angel replied, "Samael." And my reply was, "Oh wow," because earlier, as Elizabeth was following her corrupt ways again, and even after the angel said, "This is your second chance at redemption," like you need to follow the path of redemption, because of the iconography of the angel like being a skull for a head, it was kind of bringing me back to in Torment with Mendel or
yeah
with the elk head, elk skull. And I was like, oh, is this like another entity from his mythos? This one's more, but I was also thinking it's like, creepy angel, like creepy skull angel. Wouldn't it be funny if this was just the devil trying to tempt this woman? And it turned out I was right, kind of, because Samael is generally a fallen angel, I believe.
Well, he's one of the Satans.
Yeah, he's one of the many names or many versions of the... Yeah, because like there's Satan, like Beelzebub, Samael, Lucifer. Like they're all different characters, but same kind of... all same, like the Satan, like...
Well, but the difference here is that Samael actually lives in the seventh heaven.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But he's one of the Satans?
Yeah, he's considered one of the seven, or one of the Satans, because he's the Archangel of Death.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I knew Samael from inklings of things, but I couldn't remember if it was actually a full devil or if it was a fallen angel or something. So,
yeah.
All right. But yeah, I wasn't too far off the nose of that my earlier prediction that that it was the angel was actually a demon or a devil tempting this soul. And then we have my last kind of thing before we go into final thoughts. With this quote, the Nikelmu, however, picked up one last wish from Elizabeth as she was pulled into the portal. It enacted it, and then fell to the ground, or rather, through the ground. As the homeless man saw the fire, he attempted to run away, dragging his cart behind him. A large wind blew, coating both him and his cart in snow. When the snow cleared, he was wearing a thick winter coat, along with padded pants, his pockets full of the jewelry on the floor that was presented to Elizabeth. When he turned around to grab his cart, amid the shock, he screamed in joy. Thank God for his new bounty. It was now full of new canned food and supplies. Well, at least someone gets a Merry Christmas this year. Yeesh! But then, as we described, then as you brought above the revelation, he's totally fucked. Yeah. In terms of the loss, the justice system, he's totally getting blamed for that fire. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my that's my actual thoughts of the story before we go into our final thoughts. So, Mike, these days for evil. Do you have anything left?
All right. So, I feel the author really wanted hate mail with this.
Yeah.
Because the first page, do you remember what the word was?
I don't.
It was INRI.
Oh, yeah, isn't that like what Jesus had like written on like a little plaque?
That is the name, or the quick way of describing Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. So basically, at the beginning, she's following Jesus.
But it's a trick by Samael.
Yeah.
As we discover, because the Nikelmu is... Also, is the Nikelmu something... Because you're a little bit more fluent on that mythology. Sorry, that religion than I am.
Well, I didn't actually look that.
Yeah, I kind of... Honestly, to me, it sounded like something... Like, I almost wanted to, like, was tempted to look back in the In Torment series and see if it was, like, an artifact from there. I was also tempted to see if, like, because Elizabeth's last name is Ackerley, and the Harmons are the family that get killed. So I was like, wait, those kind of sounded familiar. Were they from like one of the In Torment stories or related stories? Mm-hmm. So I didn't check, unfortunately. I did not do my due diligence.
Yeah.
Because this story definitely presented itself more like a Judeo-Christian mythos than a mythos that he had created for In Torment.
Yeah.
So it seemed more like a Christmas horror story than anything connected to something else. But yeah, that's kind of a... I remember reading that too. I was like, okay. And then it's like, come to this house. This is what you could have. And then it went around, and it's like, oh, here, let me just open this door for you. It's like,
yeah. Well, which...
Follow the path. Will you follow this path, or will you not? Or will you refuse it?
Yeah. And... in my opinion, this story really doesn't need the religious kick to it. You could have...
The angel's fine.
The angel's fine,
and
but...
like, yeah, the Inra... It's Inra, right? Or is it...
I-N-R-I.
Or Inra, yeah. Or I-N-R-I. Yeah, I really feel like it didn't need to be there at all.
Yeah.
Like, with all the other iconography in the story, like the Ouroboros around the brain, and the Nikelmu, and... the angel, the bird-skulled angel, it really could have just stayed vague. Like that would have been vague enough to have that Judeo-Christian leaning of like Christmas and like have that be a horror story. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe just like like dealing with like it's like trying too hard to be shock value or for the shock value. Like between that and the strip the woman of her clothes and then splatter across the ceiling. Yeah. Like, okay. That's not scary, that's just disgusting. I feel like, and I my due diligence failed me again today, because I meant to check when this story came out versus the other stories, like the In Torment series and stuff like that, because I feel like this was one of his earlier works. So I feel like maybe he was a little bit younger when he wrote this. And ShawnCognition, if you'd like to clarify, if you're listening to this, I'm just curious, because like it does seem like, I hate to say this, it seems like a high schooler's horror story. Yeah. Like, there's promise in it, but there's also some very like obvious flaws to it that make it seem childish, is the best description I can kind of give it.
Yeah. And my note here is, I was thinking the author should take a page from the author of the In Torment series. He might learn a thing or two.
Exactly my point. So, like, I'm wondering, like, maybe, like, he might have learned, like, with In Torment, I feel like In Torment's gone through many, like, multiple, like, revisions and stuff like that. And it does still kind of need some work. But it is better in terms of the writing than this one. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I think also it's because, like again, like between Inri and the gore scene, it just seemed like it was just trying to bait people to like get pissed off at it.
And then I actually tried to look at the In Torment series just to
you did
actually peruse.
Yeah,
but it's actually no longer on Creepypasta.com due to licensing.
.com or .wiki?
I think it was .com. The Google search that I did that was supposed to go to it said this has been taken because of licensing. That is
weird, because he's the one that wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. I had to look at that after we're recording. I have to take a look at that.
It might just be the .com.
Oh yeah, that's probably because Creepypasta.com
changed the licensing thing 2 months ago.
Creepypasta.wiki is the one that I've been like pulling the stories from, like the In Torment stories from. So maybe that one?
Maybe. Well, I searched while doing a basic Google search. It came up with a form sort of posting for In Torment with the author saying, well, read this and you might find hidden things in it. And then no story. And I was like, well, that doesn't help. So
interesting.
Yeah. So it's not as on the internet as it used to be.
Yeah.
And then my comment that I was thinking that she was going to be adopted by the family.
Yeah, right? Or the angel had given basically time fuckery or done some time fuckery, and now she was actually the daughter of in that family.
Yeah. Like,
she comes inside, she goes to grab some turkey and stuff like that, and the family comes to embrace her. It's like, oh, daughter. It's like, who are you? Stab. Or like, yeah, like she like stab, like, or like, yeah, she kills the dad, goes over to like start her like, oh, I got to follow the corruption. It's like, daughter, why would you do this? What?
We told you 1,000 times not to take turkey straight from the fridge.
Oh, Elizabeth. God.
Alright. And then the next point I have is my sort of confusion, because the protagonist, Elizabeth, knows things before we do, but the one thing happened so quickly. Like, she assumed what was expected of her, and then the door to the house was unlocked, and then she knew what she must do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess it's like, oh, it's time to lean into my old ways.
Yeah.
And like my breaking and entering stuff. But it's just like, yeah. Also, I did find, like, earlier in the story when she's like, we get like a little bit like a few flashes of like what had happened to her, like where that bloody knife had come from. Mm-hmm. I was a little confused by that, but then at the same time, like, yeah, like it's kind of like presented like a movie, like where like you just see flashes of like some kind of crime or violence that happened.
Yeah,
and it like it insinuates, or doesn't insinuate, it like uses some subtlety, like some subtext about like she had friends that were no longer friends, kind of thing. Like, turned out her friends were no longer were not or she her friends. Mm-hmm. In that they had like betrayed her and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, the whole beginning with her killing someone off scene.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was a justified.
Yeah, like
because she was defending herself.
It sounded like she was like about to get raped, honestly.
Yeah.
Which again, yeah, like that's justified. Like you're protecting yourself. Yes. But I mean, again, it's also 1946.
Yeah.
Time period or age-wise, she's scared. Honestly, any time period, like you'd be scared after committing that kind of crime, even though it's justified. Like, so, like her actions are her reaction to it is justified or justifiable. Mm-hmm. In that she was paranoid and like freaked out because of that happening. And she's like kind of a desperate woman. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I can buy that. Mm-hmm. But then she goes and like something kind of switches. Like when she starts the breaking in, it's like, well, time to become a villain.
Yeah,
time to start twirling my mustache as I eat this turkey as I lean by the door. It's like, oh, that's a nice husband you have. It's a shame what happened to him. It's like, Jesus. Yeah, it went from like desperate, scared woman, and then it seems like just because the angel was there and like did all the stuff and gave her that thing, mm-hmm. she switched her tune a little bit. Yeah,
which goes on to saying that power corrupts.
Yeah, it does follow that motif, and like it does work. It's just it was rather sudden, or like flip a switch kind of thing.
Yeah. All right, so. The next thing is just an issue that I ran into. Most people probably wouldn't run into it.
Okay.
But I think it's because I read this over the course of a couple days.
Oh, okay.
So when I got to the point that it says, a single piece of piano wire tore out of it and drifted over to Elizabeth, I was like, who's Elizabeth?
Okay, yeah.
But then I looked back and it's like the very first sentence.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Elizabeth is the woman. Okay, yeah, that's an issue because you read it in parts over the course of a couple of days. Yeah. That's not the story's fault. That's your fault.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm just noticing it now. Technically, they're maybe a misspelling in the title for the third part.
I checked that. I actually was going to put that in my notes, but I removed it because, so it's... Would you like to say what it is?
It has Have a Holy Jolly Christmas.
Yeah. So, it does technically work as a Holy Jolly Christmas because of the whole angel thing and stuff like that, and he does drag her to hell, or drag her down into to the underworld or wherever. But it could also be Have a Holly Jolly Christmas as a counterpoint to the whole what has just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, legit. I could honestly go either way with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add that in my notes, and I was like, no, that could work either way. I don't have much issue with that.
And then the homeless guy at the end. When he goes to look at the cart, honestly, I wasn't expecting the cart to still be there. I was expecting there to be a car, like a Bentley or a Lincoln Continental, like something fancy and whatnot, and he's actually got a suit on underneath his jacket that he just got. It's like...
Time to go to the club! That's just my prospector / homeless guy voice. Gotta start with that laugh.
Yeah. And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Alright. So, on to final thoughts then. So the story is another narrative of morality and that humans and of a human following the path to darkness or evil power corrupting, absolutely kind of thing. And I'm familiar with this. Like I said earlier, I was familiar with this in Cognition's previous works in Torment. So it wasn't too surprising for this to come up by this author. Though I'm not sure how close this is to that setting, like if it is actually connected to it, because he has said in the past that a lot of his stories are written in the same universe in some form or another. So this could be another instance of like Ereshkigal and his minions kind of like tempting humanity again. Like this could all just be under, and because like it could just be under the guise of Judeo-Christian mythology, when really it's the In Torment mythos. That said, this was a lot less Lovecraftian, like the In Torment series, or and more Judeo-Christian demonic horror. And it certainly was a Christmas horror story. Though I feel this story needs some work in the writing specifically before I'd even consider recommending it. I like things in it that had some potential in spots, but some of the writing made it, and some of the anachronisms and plot holes made it hard to enjoy the story. This feels like a very early... and again, I'm not 100%. Someone, Cognition specifically, could clarify if they like... if they listen to this. It felt like this was one of his earlier works. So like maybe he's just getting a feel for this kind of thing. Because he definitely improved within Torment. Yeah. If that's the case. But yeah, as it is, I can't really recommend Cold Testament. Yeah. So, Mikey, these stands for you.
Alright, so from the beginning of the story, it's mentioned that she's killed someone, although in defense. And that seems justified. And then when it comes to the later killings, which I was half expecting because of the fact that it's mentioned killing so early on.
Yeah. So she's capable of it.
Yeah. That it was going to be there. I hoped it wasn't going to come back, but like it did.
I'd actually be really no offense to the author, but I would actually be really surprised if one of these stories, the character we think is going to be villainous doesn't shirks away from the path of darkness.
Yeah,
like you can still make that a horror story, but you kind of need to have some likable characters once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, this character was on the path of being... She was definitely sympathetic at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then she just becomes really right... Okay, technically she is still redeemable at the end, because she does wish... all the stuff, because she did feel sorry for the homeless person the first time she saw him, because she had been there.
Yeah,
and then she went down the path of darkness, went all villainous, killed the family, got dragged to hell, but wished for the homeless guy to have better things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, she also logically she inadvertently thrust the crime upon him, but. If you don't take it that way, he's gotten basically his second chance at existing and having a better life. Mm-hmm. So this one was almost there, but I wouldn't mind seeing one of these stories where the path of evil is neglected, is shirked away from, mm-hmm. and they realize that they're going down that path and they shirk away from it, and maybe have the demon or whatever's tempting them to lash out at them for it, mm-hmm. but at least the character would be more sympathetic. Mm-hmm. This character was more sympathetic than some of the In Torment characters have been, mm-hmm. but I would be very interested to see that. I guess I'd like to see those kind of tropes that have come up, those tropes that have been made in the In Torment series in Cognition's writing, flipped on their head.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue with your final words.
Yeah, and as we've brought up the whole time scenario where it doesn't really fit for the police cars.
Yeah, I was the whole time I was it's 80s more than 40s. It's 40-year gap.
And then the whole, even including the religion, mm-hmm. It really didn't need to be there. You can have supernatural as much as you want, but you don't need to put that in to get people to create hate mail.
Yeah, I honestly think if you just got rid of Henri, the story is still a Christian Christmas leanings, but is it just doing it to get that? It's still. You can still have the Christmas themes and the Christian, Judeo-Christian horror kind of angle there. Mm-hmm. It just, honestly, it really did not serve much of a purpose other than to, shitpost or to troll Christians.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they were going for, but it's a little childish.
Yeah.
And this is coming from somebody who's a cultist to Lovecraftian horror and cosmic horror. But I do enjoy horror stories that do use other mythologies and Christian mythologies and stuff like that, but do it a little more tasteful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mesh it better.
Yeah,
so that you're taking things as they are and not twisting them to your own. Because there's already the the created religion. Yeah. It is how it is. You can deviate a little.
Yeah, you can interpret some stuff from it your own way. Honestly, the issue is from my angle, I didn't really see Henri, that's something that's Jesus, or that's a thing. It's why is this doing here? It didn't really seem like it fit everything else that was going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with the angel, and because angels, Old Testament angels are assholes.
Yeah,
the fucking fiery swords and burn down entire civilizations kind of shit. Or and again, since we found out Samael, that makes perfect sense. It was a demon or a fallen angel or the angel of death. Giving this character, this mortal, one last chance at redemption before he drags them down to the dark place. Mm-hmm. And she just leaned back into it. It's she just damned herself. So I'm fine with I love horror stories that have the character damning themselves. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's if you just, it's just that one word just kind of trolls everything.
Yeah. So as it stands, it's not recommended.
Yeah. Yeah, the writing's a little bit more amateurish than we've seen. And like this author is good at writing stories. Like we've seen them in the In Torment stories. Tabula Rasa was great. This one was.
I wonder if this, because it was an entry for a contest, had time restraints.
It could have been rushed. That could have been another reason. So this is either like it feels either that this was a rush job, or this was an early work. And if in either case, this has the potential to go back to it and fix up the issues and make this a better story. Yeah, because you can make this has promise. I just can't recommend it as it is.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of in your case.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else to be said.
Nope.
So that has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also check us out on Twitter. We're at... Mikey is at the E stands for evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also check us out on iTunes and leave us a rating and review, or any other streaming site that we have that has us on there. Every little bit helps. Spread the word like a mimetic virus. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. If you'd like to check out the title cards for each episode, you can check out crazon.deviantart.com, crazonstudios.tumblr.com, or on our YouTube channel, Al Dente Rigamortis, where we have the videos of each episode. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigamortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. Currently we have $2 and $5 tier, but any donation helps us out. And $2 tier gets you special episodes such as Al Dente Real Talk, where we talk about films that either inspired creepypastas or were the inspiration for... that either inspired creepypastas, were based off of a creepypasta, or have horror genre themes that we feel coalesce with creepypasta themes and motifs. We also have Actual Play Rigamortis, where we run tabletop games set in a horror scenarios, generally themed with creepypasta vibes and atmosphere. And also, my two co-hosts have Al Dente Reloaded and Revelations. Mikey, would you like to take over Gamer's spot on that?
I'll try. At the $5 tier, we have Al Dente Reloaded, where myself and the Gamer in Yellow go back to the good, the bad, and the ugly pastas that they reviewed in the past and do our own review. And then at the $2 tier, we have Al Dente Revelations, where we go back to their reviews, see how our opinions differ or are the same, and make fun of the art.
Yes. That's fine. So you can check those out.
And possibly have a mind-blowing revelation.
There you go. So you can check us out there. And for our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. Your patronage keeps us going and helps fight those dastardly hosting bills. And to the listeners and the authors of the stories that we discuss on the show, thank you immensely. For the listeners, if you weren't listening, we really wouldn't have much of a show. And even with the comments and emails we occasionally get, is great. Regardless of if it's hate or not. If we ever have any kind of conflicting issue or something that you don't agree with, let us know. We want to hear what you guys have to, what you guys think about the show. And that goes for you, the authors. Honestly, if you hadn't written the stories, we wouldn't have a show at all, and I wouldn't have entertainment to read. So thank you immensely. So that has been this week's episode. Until next time, I've been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well. you.